The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was filled with representatives from over 300 species. Light from distant stars filtered through massive crystal windows. The chamber was old, ancient even, built long before most civilizations had discovered fire on their homeworlds. Ambassador Crick stood at the center platform. His species, the Velthari, had gray skin and 4 arms. They were known as peaceful traders who traveled between star systems. Today, Crick's looked different. His usually calm face showed deep fear. His hands were shaking. "I have traveled for 6 months to deliver this warning," Crick said. His voice echoed in the silent hall. "The council must listen carefully." High Chancellor Morvik, a tall being with scales covering his body, leaned forward from his elevated seat. "Speak then, Ambassador. The council is listening." Crick took a deep breath. "There is a world at the edge of the outer rim. The natives call it Earth. The beings living there call themselves humans." Whispers spread through the chamber. Most species had never heard of this planet or its people. Earth was far from the major trade routes. It was considered unimportant. "My trading vessel crashed on their world 3 of their years ago," Crick continued. "I lived among them. I studied them. I learned their history, their nature, their capabilities." He paused, his eyes scanning the faces of the council members. "And I am here to warn you. Do not attack them. Do not provoke them. Leave them alone." Laughter erupted from several sections of the hall. General Tarvak of the Draxian Empire stood up. His species was known for conquest. They had enslaved dozens of worlds. Their military was feared across the galaxy. "You want us to fear primitives?" Tarvak said with mockery in his voice. "They have not even achieved faster than light travel. They are insects compared to us." "They are not insects," Crick replied firmly. "They are predators. The most dangerous predators I have ever encountered." More laughter followed. Chancellor Morvik raised his hand for silence. "Explain yourself, Ambassador. What makes these humans so dangerous?" Crick activated a holographic display. Images of Earth appeared, showing forests, oceans, cities, and most importantly, the creatures that lived there. "Earth is a death world," Crick said. "Their planet is actively trying to kill everything on it. Extreme temperatures, natural disasters, poisonous plants, and dangerous animals exist everywhere, and humans did not just survive there, they conquered it." He showed images of ancient humans hunting massive beasts with simple weapons. They hunted creatures 10 times their size. They did this not with advanced technology but with patience, intelligence, and an ability to work together that I have never seen in any other species. The council members watched with mild interest but no real concern. "Their history is written in blood," Crick continued. "They have been at war with each other since the beginning of their civilization. They have developed weapons capable of destroying their entire world multiple times over, and they have used some of these weapons on each other." This caught some attention. The species that could destroy themselves were usually considered primitive and self-destructive. "But the most dangerous thing about humans is not their weapons," Crick said. "It is what they keep as companions." The holographic display changed. Images of wolves, tigers, bears, and other Earth predators appeared. "These are the predators of Earth. Each one is capable of killing a human easily. They have claws, fangs, speed, and strength that humans lack." Crick paused for effect. "And humans have tamed them." The images shifted to show dogs standing beside humans, cats sitting in their homes, horses carrying them across fields. They took the most dangerous creatures on their planet and made them loyal companions. They bred them, trained them, and shaped them into living weapons that obey human commands without question. General Tarvok laughed again. "You expect us to fear their pets. I expect you to understand what this means," Crick replied, his voice rising. "Any species that can look at a predator capable of killing them and say, 'I want that as my friend,' is not a species to be underestimated. They do not have the same fear response as other beings. They see danger and they walk toward it." He showed footage of humans climbing mountains, diving into deep oceans, and exploring dangerous environments. "They call this entertainment. They risk death for fun." The council remained unconvinced. Chancellor Morvik spoke again. "Your warning is noted, Ambassador. But the Draxian Empire has already expressed interest in the resources of Earth's solar system. This council will not interfere with their expansion." Crick's face fell. "You are making a terrible mistake." General Tarvok stepped forward with arrogance in his stride. "The Draxian fleet will arrive at Earth within 2 of their months. We will take what we want. If the humans resist, we will crush them. Their pets will not save them." "The predators I speak of are not just their animals," Crick said desperately. "Humans themselves are the predators. They have spent their entire existence fighting, hunting, and surviving against impossible odds. When you attack them, you will not face a frightened civilization begging for mercy. You will awaken something ancient and terrible within them." The council voted. The decision was made. The Draxian Empire was given permission to proceed with their expansion into human territory. As the representatives filed out of the hall, Crick stood alone on the platform. He had failed. He thought of the humans he had met during his time on Earth, their kindness, their curiosity, their strange sense of humor. But he also remembered seeing something else in their eyes, something hidden beneath the surface, a darkness, a capacity for violence that made even the most brutal species in the galaxy seem gentle by comparison. The Draxians had no idea what they were about to unleash. Krix left the council chamber knowing that he would never see General Tarvak or his fleet again. The humans had a saying he had learned during his stay. It seemed appropriate now. Poke the bear, and the bear will eat you. The Draxians were about to poke something far worse than a bear. They were about to poke humanity, and humanity was about to remind the galaxy why their ancestors had stood at the top of the food chain for over 200,000 years. The Draxian fleet emerged from hyperspace near Jupiter. 50 warships, each one capable of destroying a small moon, arranged themselves in perfect formation. General Tarvok stood on the command deck of his flagship, looking at the blue planet in the distance. Earth looked peaceful from space. White clouds swirled over blue oceans and green lands. It seemed fragile, vulnerable, easy to conquer. Begin scanning their military capabilities, Tarvok ordered. His officers worked quickly at their stations. Within minutes, reports began coming in. General, they have primitive orbital satellites. No weapons platforms in space. Their ground-based missiles could reach us, but our shields would stop them easily. Tarvok smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Contact their leaders. Let them know their new masters have arrived. The communication was broadcast across all Earth frequencies. Every television, radio, and digital device on the planet received the message simultaneously. People of Earth, Tarvak's voice boomed across the world. I am General Tarvok of the Draxian Empire. Your world now belongs to us. Surrender immediately, and we will allow some of you to live as servants. Resist, and you will be destroyed. He expected panic. He expected governments to collapse and people to beg for mercy. He expected the quick surrender that every other species had given when faced with the might of the Draxian fleet. What he received was something very different. The response came from a unified Earth broadcast. Humanity, despite all their differences and conflicts, had agreed on one thing within hours of receiving the alien message. Dear General Tarvak, the human voice said calmly, thank you for your message. Humanity has discussed your offer and wishes to respond. Our answer is no. Furthermore, we suggest you leave our solar system immediately. This is your only warning. They fail to comply, and you will face consequences. Tarvok stared at the communication screen in disbelief. They refused. They actually refused. His second-in-command, a younger Draxian named Velux, checked the message again. It appears so, General. They also threatened us. Laughter spread across the command deck. The idea that primitives would threaten a galactic superpower was beyond absurd. Launch the strike, Tarvok commanded. Destroy 3 of their major cities. That will teach them proper respect. 3 ships broke formation and headed toward Earth. Their targets were selected, military installations in key locations. The Draxians were not completely without mercy. They would give humanity a chance to reconsider after seeing what true power looked like. The ships entered Earth's atmosphere. They flew over populated areas, allowing the humans to see their massive forms blocking out the sun. Fear would spread. Panic would follow. The Draxians had done this many times before. What happened next shocked every officer in the fleet. Missiles rose from the ground. Not the primitive nuclear weapons the Draxians had expected, but something else. The missiles moved faster than anything they had anticipated, changing direction multiple times to avoid defensive fire. The first Draxian ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light, then the second. The third ship tried to retreat, but was hit by a dozen missiles from different directions. It crashed into the ocean, sending massive waves across the coastline. Tarvok stared at his tactical display in complete shock. How those ships had the best shields in the fleet. Velux's voice was shaking. The missiles were designed to bypass energy shields. They targeted weak points in our armor. General, they knew exactly where to hit us. Impossible. They have never encountered our technology before. Sir, we are receiving another message from Earth. The human voice returned, still calm. General Tarvok, that was your warning becoming reality. We have studied your ships since you arrived in our solar system. We have identified your weaknesses. We have adapted. Now, leave or face complete destruction of your fleet. Tarvak's scales turned pale. In his entire military career, spanning dozens of conquests, no species had ever destroyed a single Draxian warship on the first encounter. These humans had destroyed 3 within minutes. All ships advance, Tarvok commanded, refusing to accept defeat. Full assault on their major population centers. Overwhelming force. Leave nothing standing. The fleet moved toward Earth. 47 ships, each one armed with weapons capable of leveling continents, descended upon the blue planet. And then the humans showed why Ambassador Crix had been so afraid. From hidden bases around the world, from underground bunkers, from places the Draxian sensors had completely missed, the humans launched their response. Fighter jets that could outmaneuver anything in the Draxian fleet took to the skies. Weapons that the aliens had never encountered before activated across the globe. But the most terrifying thing was not the technology, it was the humans themselves. Soldiers who had been trained since childhood for combat, rushed to defensive positions without hesitation. They showed no fear. They showed no panic. They looked at the alien invaders with something the Draxians had never seen in the eyes of any species they had. Conquered excitement. The humans were actually happy about this. They had been waiting for something like this. Their entire history had been preparing them for exactly this moment. General Tavok watched as 3 more of his ships fell to Earth's defenses. He saw the humans launching themselves at alien dropships, fighting hand-to-hand against Draxian soldiers who were twice their size. And they were winning. What are these creatures? Tavok whispered as he watched a human soldier take down a Draxian warrior with bare hands. Volux looked at his tactical display with growing horror. General, we are losing ground forces faster than we can deploy them. The humans are not retreating. They are advancing. They are hunting our soldiers. The word echoed in Tavok's mind. Hunting, that was exactly what the humans were doing. They were not defending their world. They were treating this invasion as a hunt, and the Draxians were the prey. Tavok thought of Ambassador Crix and his warnings about predators. He finally understood, but understanding came too late. The human forces had already adapted to Draxian tactics. They had learned enemy weaknesses and were exploiting them ruthlessly. More ships fell, more soldiers died, and somewhere on Earth, humanity was only getting started. 3 weeks had passed since the invasion began. General Tavok had lost half his fleet. His soldiers were being slaughtered in every engagement. Reports coming from the ground forces spoke of nightmares, of shadows that killed without warning, of humans who seemed to appear from nowhere and vanish after striking. The Draxians had conquered over 40 worlds. They had faced species with superior technology, larger populations, and better resources. They had won every single time. Earth was different. On the ground, Commander Korax led what remained of his battalion through a destroyed human city. Buildings stood broken and empty. Fires burned in the distance. The silence was worse than any battle cry. Where are they? One of his soldiers asked, scanning the ruins with his weapon ready. Everywhere, Korax replied, and nowhere. A week ago, this battalion had numbered 500 warriors. Now less than 60 remained. The humans did not fight in the open. They hid, waited, and struck at the perfect moment. They used the environment against the Draxians, setting traps that killed dozens at once. They attacked at night when Draxian vision was weakest, and they brought their predators the first time. Korax saw a human working alongside a beast. He thought the creature was simply following them. Then the beast lunged at a Draxian soldier, taking him down in seconds with teeth and claws while the humans shot others from cover. The animals the humans called dogs were everywhere now. They could smell Draxian soldiers from great distances. They tracked them through forests and ruins. They alerted their human partners to every ambush attempt, but the dogs were not the only predators the humans had unleashed. Korax had heard stories from survivors about humans riding massive beasts called horses into battle, about trained birds that attacked from above, targeting eyes and communication equipment, about animals that moved silently through the night, stalking Draxian camps. Every creature on Earth seemed to be on humanity's side. A sound came from his left. Korax spun, weapon raised, but saw nothing. Another sound came from his right. He turned again. They are playing with us, a young soldier said, his voice breaking with fear. Then the attack came. Humans emerged from the ruins like ghosts. They moved with speed and precision that should have been impossible for beings of their size. Each shot they fired found its mark. Each blade they carried drew blood. And running beside them were the wolves, not the domesticated dogs Korax had encountered before, but their wild ancestors, that humans had called them from the forests. And they had answered, massive gray beasts with eyes that glowed in the dim light, moving in perfect coordination with human soldiers. The battle lasted 7 minutes. When it ended, Korax was the only Draxian still alive. He lay wounded in the rubble, watching as a human soldier approached him. Why? Korax asked through blood and pain. Why do they fight with you? The human looked down at him with an expression that was almost sad. Because we asked them to. We formed a bond with them thousands of years ago. We protected them, fed them, cared for them, and in return they gave us their loyalty. A wolf walked up beside the human and sat down, its eyes never leaving Korax. That is not natural, Korax said. Predators do not serve other predators. The human smiled, but there was no warmth in it. We are not like other species. We do not dominate. We form partnerships. Every animal you have seen fighting beside us chose to be here. They fight for us because they trust us. Can you say the same about your soldiers? Korax thought about the Draxian Empire, built on fear and conquest. Soldiers followed orders because they feared punishment. Worlds obeyed because they feared destruction. There was no trust, no loyalty, only power. The human stood up and looked at the sky where the remaining Draxian ships still orbited. Tell your general something for me. Tell him this was just the beginning. Korax was left alive, his wounds treated by human medics, and given a communication device to contact his fleet. The message he delivered to General Tavok was simple. They have weapons we never expected. Every living thing on their planet is a weapon. The animals, the plants, the environment itself, and the humans control all of it. They are not a civilization to be conquered. They are a force of nature. Tavok received the message in silence. Around him, his officers watched the latest tactical updates. More ships lost, more soldiers gone. Supply lines were being attacked before they could reach Earth's orbit. General Volok said quietly, "We should request reinforcements." No, Tavok's voice was hollow. "Reinforcements would take 6 months to arrive. We will be destroyed long before then." "Then what do we do?" Before Tavok could answer, a new alert sounded. Something was approaching from Earth. Multiple objects moving fast. "What is that?" Tavok demanded. The tactical officer's voice shook as he reported. "Human spacecraft, General. Dozens of them. They are attacking the fleet." Tavok stared at the display in disbelief. "They did not have space capability when we arrived. They built them in 3 weeks. General, they built warships in 3 weeks. The humans had studied Draxian technology from the crashed ships. They had reverse-engineered the propulsion systems, improved them, and constructed an entire fleet while simultaneously fighting a ground war done in 3 weeks." Tavok finally understood why Ambassador Crix had been so afraid. The humans were not just predators. They were the ultimate predators, adaptable, relentless, capable of turning any disadvantage into an advantage. They learned from their enemies and became better. They did not just survive. They evolved faster than any species had a right to. And now they were coming for his fleet. The first human warship engaged a Draxian cruiser. It was smaller, less armed, built in primitive conditions. It destroyed the cruiser in 4 minutes. "All ships retreat." Tavok commanded for the first time in his career. Full retreat. But the humans were faster. The retreat was a disaster. Human ships pursued the Draxian fleet through their own solar system, picking off stragglers with frightening accuracy. Ships that had been built in weeks using stolen technology somehow outperformed vessels that had taken years to construct. General Tavok watched from his damaged flagship as another cruiser exploded in the distance. Of the 50 ships that had arrived at Earth, only 12 remained, and the humans were not stopping. "They are following us to the hyperspace jump point," Valux reported, his voice dead with exhaustion. "They will not let us escape." "Contact the Galactic Council," Tavok ordered. "Send everything, all our data, all our recordings, everything we have learned about these humans." The message was transmitted as the fleet made its desperate run for escape. Tavok watched his life's work crumble around him. Decades of conquest, thousands of victories, all meaningless against these impossible beings from a death world. His flagship took a direct hit. Alarms screamed as systems failed throughout the vessel. Crew members ran to repair what could be fixed while others prepared for evacuation. "General, we have reached the jump point," Volok shouted over the chaos. "But our engines are too damaged. We cannot make the jump." Tavok looked at his tactical display one final time. Human ships surrounded what remained of his fleet. There was no escape. "Tell me, Volok," Tavok said calmly. "Did we ever stand a chance?" The young officer did not answer. He did not need to. The flagship exploded as human weapons found its reactor core. General Tavok, conqueror of 40 worlds, died thinking about a gray-skinned ambassador who had tried to warn him. Only 3 Draxian ships made it to hyperspace. They carried the data, the recordings, and the survivors who would tell the galaxy what had happened. Back on Earth, humanity celebrated its victory, but their leaders were already planning the next step. "We cannot stay on the defensive," Admiral Sarah Chen said during the emergency meeting of world governments. "These Draxians will return with a larger fleet, or another species will try what they tried. We need to take the fight to them." President Morales of the United Nations looked at the projections on the screen. "We went from no space capability to destroying an alien fleet in less than 2 months. What do you propose we do now?" Admiral Chen smiled, and everyone in the room felt a chill. "We build a proper fleet. We establish a presence in our solar system, and then we show the galaxy exactly what happens when you attack Earth." Within 6 months, humanity had constructed over 200 warships. They had reverse-engineered Draxian faster-than-light technology and improved it beyond what the aliens thought possible. Mining operations began on asteroids and moons. Defensive platforms were placed in orbit around Earth. But most importantly, humanity formed the Terran Alliance. Every nation agreed to present a united front against alien threats. Old conflicts were set aside. Old enemies became allies. Humanity had finally found something that could bring them together: a common enemy. News of the Draxian defeat spread across the galaxy. The message General Tavok had sent before his death was studied by every species. With access to the councils, networks. Ambassador Crix watched the recordings. In his home on Velthari Prime, he saw the human ships hunting the Draxian fleet. He saw the ground battles where humans fought alongside their predator companions. He saw the fear in Draxian eyes as they realized they had made a terrible mistake. "I warned them," Crix whispered to himself. "I warned them." The Galactic Council called an emergency session. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered to discuss the threat from Earth for the first time in galactic history. A primitive species had not only repelled an invasion but had destroyed most of the attacking fleet. Chancellor Morvik, who had dismissed Crix's warnings, now faced the consequences of his decision. The Draxian Empire demands action, the surviving Draxian ambassador announced. These humans must be stopped before they become a greater threat. Crix stood up from his seat. And how do you propose to stop them? Your fleet, the mightiest in the galaxy, was destroyed by a species that had no space travel capability 2 months ago. They learned your technology, improved it, and used it against you in weeks. The chamber fell silent. They are still learning, Crix continued. Every moment that passes, they grow stronger. Every weapon you send against them will be captured, studied, and turned against you. You cannot defeat them with war. Then what do you suggest? Chancellor Morvick asked. Do what I told you to do from the beginning. Leave them alone. Do not provoke them. Perhaps, with time, they will be content to stay in their solar system. Perhaps they will not seek revenge for your unprovoked attack. The Draxian ambassador stepped forward with anger in his voice. The Empire will not accept this. We demand the Council authorize a full military response. A new voice spoke from the back of the chamber. It came from a communication screen that had activated without warning. The image showed a human woman in a military uniform, her face calm but her eyes sharp. My name is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Alliance, she said. I am addressing this council on behalf of humanity. The chamber erupted in chaos. Guards moved toward the screen, but Morvick raised his hand. How did you access our communications? He demanded. Admiral Chen smiled slightly. Your security systems are easier to bypass than you might think. We have been listening to your discussions for some time now. We thought it was time to introduce ourselves properly. Fear spread through the chamber. The humans had infiltrated their most secure networks without anyone noticing. I will keep this simple, Admiral Chen continued. We did not start this war. We did not want this war, but we ended it, and we will end any future conflicts the same way. She paused, letting her words sink in. Humanity is no longer isolated. We are building a fleet that will make the Draxian Armada look like toys. We are training soldiers who will make your worst nightmares seem pleasant, and we are very, very good at holding grudges. The chamber was completely silent. You have one chance to avoid what is coming. Respect our space. Do not send any more ships to our solar system. Do not threaten us or our allies. Do this, and we will remain peaceful. Her eyes hardened. But if anyone attacks Earth again, we will not simply defend ourselves. We will respond in kind. We will find your homeworlds. We will bring our predators. And we will show you exactly why our planet is called a death world. The transmission ended. Chancellor Morvick looked around the chamber at the frightened faces of species who had ruled the galaxy for millennia. The balance of power had shifted overnight, and humanity was only getting started. 5 years had passed since Admiral Chen's message to the Galactic Council. In that time, everything had changed. The Terran Alliance now controlled not just Earth but the entire solar system. Human colonies existed on Mars, the moons of Jupiter, and in countless asteroid habitats. Their fleet numbered over 1,000 ships, each one more advanced than the last. But humanity had done something unexpected. Instead of conquering like the Draxians had, they offered something else. Protection. Smaller species who had lived in fear of the great empires began reaching out to Earth. They sent secret messages, asking if the rumors were true. Could the humans really protect them from those who would enslave them? The answer was always yes. The Terran Alliance formed partnerships with dozens of species across the galaxy. They did not demand tribute or obedience. They asked only for fair trade and mutual respect. In return, they offered the protection of their growing fleet and the friendship of a species that valued loyalty above all else. Ambassador Crix became the official liaison between the Velthari and humanity. He had spent years on Earth and understood humans better than anyone in the galaxy. He watched with wonder as they fulfilled everything he had believed about them. They were dangerous, yes, more dangerous than any species he had ever encountered. But they were also kind, curious, and surprisingly gentle with those they considered friends. He walked through the streets of New Tokyo, a massive city that had been rebuilt after the invasion. Humans moved around him, some nodding in greeting, others stopping to shake his hand. Children pointed and asked their parents about the four-armed alien. Beside him walked Commander Alina Vasquez, one of the human soldiers who had fought in the war. She had become his friend over the years, teaching him about human culture and history. Your people are remarkable, Crix said as they passed a park where children played alongside dogs and cats. You have every reason to hate the galaxy for what happened, yet you extend friendship instead. Elena smiled. We learned something from the war. Conquest brings temporary power but permanent enemies. Friendship brings allies who will stand beside you through anything. She gestured at the animals playing with the children. We learned that from our companions. They taught us that partnership is stronger than domination. Crix watched a small human child throw a ball for a large golden dog. The animal retrieved it and brought it back, tail wagging with pure joy. Such simple love between two different species. This is why you won, Crix said quietly. Not because of your weapons or your adaptability. You won because you understand something the great empires never learned. Trust and loyalty are more powerful than fear. Alina nodded. Every soldier who fought in the invasion had something to protect. our homes, our families, our friends, even our pets. We fought not because we were ordered to, but because we chose to. No empire built on fear can match that. A message alert sounded on Elena's communication device. She read it and her expression became serious. "The Draxians are moving again," she said. "They have assembled a new fleet, larger than before. The council is panicking." Crix felt fear return to his heart. "Will you fight?" "Only if we must." Elena looked up at the sky where faint stars were visible even in daylight. "But first, we will offer them what we offer everyone, a choice." The Terran Alliance sent a message to the Draxian Empire. It was not a threat. It was an invitation. "You have suffered enough," the message said. "Your empire is crumbling because you built it on conquest rather than cooperation. We offer you an alternative. Join us not as servants but as partners. Share your knowledge, your culture, your people with ours. Together we can build something that will last longer than any empire." The Draxian leadership rejected the offer, with insults and promises of destruction. Humanity, too, had expected this. When the new Draxian fleet arrived at the edge of human space, they found something waiting for them, not just warships, but vessels from every species that had joined the Terran Alliance. Over 50 civilizations had sent ships to stand beside humanity. The Draxian commander stared at the massive fleet before him. It was 10 times the size of his own. Ships of different designs, from different worlds, all flying together under a unified command. "This is Fleet Admiral Marcus Webb of the Terran Alliance," a human voice announced. "You are entering protected space. You have 2 choices: turn around and leave peacefully, or face the consequences of your actions." The Draxian commander thought of the stories from 5 years ago. The soldiers who hunted his warriors, the predators who fought beside humans, the impossible speed with which they learned and adapted. He looked at the fleet before him. A coalition unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. He thought of his homeworld, his family, his own dreams that had nothing to do with conquest. And for the first time in Draxian history, an Imperial commander surrendered without firing a single shot. "We accept your terms," he said, his voice heavy with defeat and, perhaps, a small amount of relief. News of the peaceful resolution spread across the galaxy. The Draxian Empire, once the most feared military force in known space, who had been defeated not by weapons but by something far more powerful. Unity. Within a decade, the Terran Alliance had grown to include over 100 species. The Galactic Council was reformed with new rules that prohibited conquest and slavery. Trade routes flourished. Knowledge was shared freely. Species that had been enemies for centuries found ways to cooperate, and at the center of it all stood humanity. The predators from a death world who had taught the galaxy a new way to live. Ambassador Crix, now elderly by Velthari standards, gave his final speech to the new Galactic Assembly. "I came to this chamber many years ago with a warning," he said. "I told you that humans were predators, the most dangerous species I had ever encountered. I was right about that, but I was also wrong." He looked at the humans sitting in their delegation. Dogs resting at their feet, cats purring in their laps, even a horse standing calmly behind Admiral Chen, who had become the first human chancellor. "They are predators," Crix continued, "but there's something more. They are protectors. They take the dangerous, the wild, the frightening, and they make it part of their family. They did this with the creatures of their world, and now they are doing it with us." He smiled at his human friends. "The galaxy feared humans because we did not understand them. We thought their love of danger made them violent. We thought their capacity for war made them cruel. But their true strength was never in their ability to destroy. It was in their ability to love fiercely, to protect absolutely, and to never, ever give up on those they called their own." The chamber erupted in applause from 100 different species. Humanity had changed the galaxy, not through conquest but through something the great empires. I had never understood the power of a predator who chose to protect instead of hunt.